So, I was sitting in my house scrolling through various forms of television, and my friend was like, "Have you seen the Atlantis movie?" And I was like, "No." So here I am reviewing Atlantis, The Lost Empire. So, like every good movie, we start Atlantis with a beautiful, amazing quote from Plato, the ancient philosopher, the man of perfect wisdom. And from this great ancient wisdom, we get to see the fall of a great civilization, which the animation makes it look like Atlantis just got freaking nuked. But naturally, they just kind of drowned. And we proceed to see one of the main characters lose her teddy bear, her sweet, sweet teddy bear. And that teddy bear is so important, but not as important as her mom dying to save the rich, because of course the poor must die first, as is tradition in any sort of media. Then, after seeing the devastation of the Atlantean Empire, we cut forward to the year 1914, in what I assume is before the devastation of World War I, where we see our main character, the super linguistics map-making expert with an obsession over the legend of Atlantis, Milo Thatch, as he talks about his dead grandpa and tries to wear his adventurer's hat because he wants to look cool for his meeting with Mr. Harcourt, who is very clearly the picture of the early 1900s rich monopoly man. And then after our main character ends up losing his contract with this evil boss man at the university, he gets met by the beautiful Helga Sinclair to meet a crazy rich benefactor named Mr. Whitmore, who used to work with his old grandpa Thaddeus Thatch, going on all crazy adventures all around the world. And now he's an old man and made a promise to his old friend that he would give it a shot to find Atlantis and would kiss him on the mouth if he ever found this journal, and he would fund the whole trip. Then he busts out Journal 1 from Gravity Falls and hands it to our boy Milo Thatch and says, "Go find Atlantis!" Then we introduce the side characters of this wonderful trip, where we have already met the first side character, Helga Sinclair, the second in command. We then meet the cook, Cookie, who is clearly a crazy man, but you'd have to be crazy to go on a trip to Atlantis. We then meet our demolitions expert, Vinny, who has definitely spent some time in prison, and you get the most memorable line from the movie.
Gunpowder, nitroglycerin, notepads, fuses, wicks, glue, and paper clips, big ones. You know, just the office supplies.
Then we meet the leader of the expedition, Rourke, and there's no way that Rourke could be a bad guy. There's no way he could be a bad guy. Okay, he's definitely the bad guy. Then you get this dope shot of the ship that looks like a whale that I think is really cool. Then you meet your average Frenchman. He's just a Frenchman. His name is Mole. Again, he's from France. He likes dirt. That's all you need to know. You meet the medic Sweet, who's just too sweet to handle, and a child who's a mechanic. That is not cool. That's child labor. That doesn't seem right. Then after you meet all the characters and you're having a great time and you're excited to go see Atlantis, they get attacked by the Leviathan, and the child closes the door on a man, leaving him to die. Because screw you, Jim. I remember when you took my cookie, now you must perish. Then we activate main character mode by murdering every side character underwater to move forward on our wonderful, wonderful journey, entering the crevice that they need to go through to make their way to Atlantis. We see Milo activate his map-making mode, as we also see side character Vinny pack a whole bunch of explosives. Also, a weird note during this time in the movie, that Milo is showing his technical skills to the child that violates labor laws, but the child speaks to him in Spanish, but they don't translate the Spanish when you watch it, but they do translate the Atlantean, and I just found that to be very, very weird. Then we have this cool campfire scene where everyone gets to know each other. You learn about Sweet and his military activity, and you learn how Vinny used to own a flower shop, and you learn that Mole is French, and that's it, that he's just your everyday Frenchman. And you also learn that the child wants to open up a new mechanic shop with her dad, and that's why she's working these child labor wages. After that scene, the heroes get attacked by fireflies, and I can't help but think of Nicolas Cage.
Oh, no, not the beast!
And our heroes have to run away from the firebugs because it's burning down their whole camp. and they make their way into a volcano that most definitely won't be used in the future of the movie. And then we see Milo got injured during the whole debacle, and an Atlantean shows up. The Atlantean from the beginning of the movie, the small little kid. And you get to see the healing power of crystals, because who needs traditional medicine when you have the power of pine saw, baby? And then we get to see the group meet the Atlanteans as a whole. And Rourke is definitely not evil, and definitely not planning on stealing the power source that the Atlanteans have. But they do get to see Atlantis for the first time, and the animation and art is just beautiful and gorgeous. And they meet the king of Atlantis, who does not want them there. And Rourke totally doesn't see the Atlanteans as obstacles, air quotes included, but convinces the king to let him stay one more day. Then get to see the nerd and the princess get to know each other, as the nerd provides technical support for the vehicles, which is just the equivalent of turning it on and off again. We also find out that Milo is the most nimble man, able to climb cliffs while spending his whole time in a boiler room. And we get to see the white colonial man try his best to speak the native tongue, even though he supposedly speaks the language relatively well. And as everyone's just enjoying their time in Atlantis, we get to see Rourke and the boys prepare to gas Atlantis, because it's World War I and mustard gas is very real. As Rourke is preparing for war, Milo is helping a poor tribal woman learn to read her own language before they come up from underwater, and Rourke's just chilling there, being evil, like we knew the whole time. As we find out that Rourke only really cared about the money, and we're pretty sure he killed old Pop Thaddeus. We get taken to the Magic Rock, which is the power source of the Atlanteans, and we get treated to another beautifully drawn scene as the princess goes towards the Magic Rock and fuses with it, and then proceeds to go with Rourke to protect her people. We then cut to them putting the princess in a car, and then Milo hits them with the hardest guilt trip of 1914, as most of the main character team ends up leaving Rourke's side and joining to save the Atlantean people. They head to the king, who is totally dying, and finds out that the power of Pine Sol is hereditary, baby. And the angry king wanted more and more, and war is bad, as it's only a few months before one of the worst wars in human history. And the quest is finally given, an hour and 11 minutes into the movie, as Milo must now go save the princess. Then they get into the cool flying ships that Milo showed the princess how to use earlier on, and they do a cavalry ride into a sick-ass fight scene that is so cool. They're firing laser beams and have airplanes, and there's gunfires and explosions everywhere, and it's dope. And I don't know how they got Disney to approve it. And Milo and Rourke have their final fight as Milo cuts Rourke with this magic rock that turns him into a crystal as they fight, and Milo jumps off of the balloon as Helga Sinclair explodes the balloon, killing both Rourke and herself. It's just insane. But as the balloon blows up, it activates the lava from the volcano earlier. And then you have what would have been the end of a sick Disney ride if this movie actually did well in the box office, as the lava sort of flows down into the city of Atlantis. We have a scene that mirrors the destruction of Atlantis at the beginning of the movie, except for instead of water, it's now evolved to lava, a much more dangerous liquid, as the magical emotional go-go juice is used to put up a barrier with a whole bunch of iron giants protecting the city of Atlantis, as the rock gives the princess back to the Atlanteans. And, surprisingly, we do not have a predatorial kiss from our main hero. They just hug and have a genuinely nice scene, and that's a good improvement from Disney. Then we get our goodbyes from the hero and the side characters, because of course Milo's gonna stay in Atlantis with the princess. And then we get a scene where the side characters go back to Old Benefactory and give him the letter that Milo sent him, and the movie sort of wraps up in this nice, tight little bow. So all in all, Atlantis is a pretty good movie with a relatively predictable story, but overall enjoyable. Would watch again, and definitely suggest that you check it out. Also, another weird fact, Joss Whedon was working on this movie, so that's kind of cool. So that's it for this 10-minute review of Atlantis: The Lost Empire. If you like this video, please give it a like down below. And if you have any game, TV show, or movie that you would like me to review, please go ahead and put it down in the comments below. And lastly, if you enjoyed my content, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I'm Isaiah, and this is Spiral Tree Entertainment, and I will see you next time.